Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Trudy Wood, and I'm the Marketing Manager here at Veritas Australia, New Zealand. Thank you for joining today's special presentation on the new NetBackup 8.3. We're going to begin very shortly, but first, just a reminder that all lines have been muted, and we will be recording this session, and we're going to make the recording and the slides available to you after the session. We also encourage you to ask questions throughout the session. So if you do have a question, please enter it into the Q&A window, and our panelists are on standby to take your questions. Now, also, if just regarding the bonus Uber Eats e-gift card, if you've opted in to receive an e-gift card, a reminder that you must stay for us the entire session. That's the next 60 minutes, and you'll receive an email from us within the next 24 hours with details on how to redeem your voucher. So now, without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce to you one of the most foremost subject matter experts in our field, Veritas Distinguished Engineer Philip Pereira. Over to you, Philip.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining today for this session where in the next hour or so, I'm going to give you a flavor of what's new with NetBackup 8.3. So NetBackup 8.3 was just released and made generally available to our customers last week. And for those of you who are new to NetBackup, welcome. And those of you who are new to Veritas, well, there's a quick snapshot of a bit of history about Veritas here. You can see on the screen. We started out under a different name, and we became Veritas way back in 1987. Went through a merger with Symantec, and back to being Veritas since 2015. So, and NetBackup 8.3 is a significant release, and thanks for joining today again. In the next 40 minutes or so, I'll try to go through much of an overview, I will say, and I will be supported by my group of panelists. So I have Ranga and Amit joining in as well. And as Trudy mentioned early on in the intro, there's a Q&A panel you'll find on your WebEx portal. Have the Q&A panel ready. We are expecting quite a large number of people joining in today. So if you have any questions, don't wait till the end of the session. Get your Q&A panel ready. Start typing away questions, and Ranga and Amit will help address the questions along the way without us waiting till the end. So it just so happens that this has been a significant month with a lot of excitement, given that we've had the Gartner Magic Quadrant for data center backup and recovery being released earlier this month as well. We are proud and humbled to be recognized as the leader in the Magic Quadrant for the 15th consecutive year. And you'll see a number of facts displayed on the screen with our install base, and the number of customers we have, the patents we hold, and the size of the company and the number of engineers we have. So one of the things that we are kind of proud of is being a company that has evolved over through our history by constantly listening to customers and being able to solve their problems. Now, it so happens that myself, Ranga, and Namit also have been with the company for 15 long years. And we are quite proud that we've been able to find customer challenges, bring them up to our product teams, and have them engineer solutions that solve problems. That is what has made Veritas and the product NetBackup evolve through the number of years it's been around. From backing up physical machines to virtual machines to now solving challenges in the cloud world. So in NetBackup 8.3, there's a number of new enhancements and features that we've released, and I've to make it simple, I've grouped them into four areas under workloads, clouds, operational simplicity, governance, and compliance. Now, I'm sure you can all recognize these as key areas of importance to the challenges you have. Now, I'm going to give you a bit of a hard challenge and ask you to pick. If you had only one of these to pick as the most important thing for aspect for your business, could you make a pick here in the next 20 seconds or so before the poll closes? I want you to make a hard choice. What is the most important aspect regarding data protection for your environment if you had these four themes to focus on? So make a choice and click submit. All right. So Trudy, can I have the results of the poll?
Yes, they're just coming in, and I'll show them to you all shortly.
Right. So now, broadly under these themes, you can see that I've grouped the major enhancements in NetBackup 8.3 under these four themes. And I can see from the poll result, a bit surprisingly to myself as well, governance and compliance has come up on top. Yes, so it might be a bit of a surprise to the rest of you in the audience as well. So thanks for participating in the poll, an interesting result. So you will hear in the next 40 minutes or so, I will describe some of these enhancements we've done for VMware, hypervisors, workloads like SQL, Oracle, something new we are introducing for network attached storage environments, some major enhancements we've done for helping cloud consumption, cloud protection easy, major enhancements we've done to make using NetBackup quite easy as well. And yes, to the fact that you highlighted as the most important today, governance and compliance, and the work we've done over there, which you can expect from us in NetBackup 8.3. So sit back and get your Q&A panels ready, and I'll go through the specific enhancements. So with workloads, if you weren't aware, something to keep in mind is that we've done a lot around workloads to add new capabilities, new workloads into the product over the recent 5 years or so. So with the parallel streaming framework we introduced in NetBackup 8.1 onwards, we've added a lot of modern workloads like HBase, MySQL, MongoDB, and we've added new capabilities for hypervisors as well. So it's no longer just VMware and Hyper-V. We have support even all the way up to modern workloads like those hosted on Docker as containers. So a lot has been done, and a lot more you can expect from us. So with that, with VMware, we've introduced a number of new capabilities and enhancements for large install base of customers that use VMware for their compute workloads. So, so notable is vSphere 7 came out this year, and we had 0-day support for NetBackup via NetBackup 8.2 release for vSphere 7. And now with NetBackup 8.3 coming out last week, now we had the opportunity to add additional functions like support for trusted platform module, which is an operating system and an encryption management module that is possible to be used in a VMware deployment. So if you were considering adopting VTPM, in short, that capability from VMware, NetBackup 8.3 will get you that capability. Instant access for VMware backups. Now, instant recovery for VMware, we introduced way back in NetBackup 7.6. Instant access is a capability that allows you to open a virtual machine, extract contents without having to perform a recovery of it, and do a quick recovery or even create clones of the content or copy the content of a backed up VM to another VM. Now, instant access was introduced in NetBackup 8.2. It required a NetBackup appliance to do that, no longer. So with NetBackup 8.3, now you can use your own, if you're using a non-appliance or you're running a media servers on your own platform, now you can do instant access as well. We've introduced another enhancement for SQL backups as well. Now, what this means is that if you have a SQL database running inside a VMware virtual machine, and if you back up a virtual machine, not only can you recover the files in that virtual machine or the full VM, you can also recover a SQL instance running in the virtual machine as well. And with mount points, what we've added is a capability where if you are running SQL databases inside Windows mount points, now we can allow you to recover that type of database copies as well. So I know a large customer of ours in New Zealand uses SQL mount points. There you go. Now another problem for one of our Pacific customers we solved through NetBackup 8.3. Nutanix, AHV. Now we introduce support for Nutanix hypervisors with our parallel streaming framework in NetBackup 8.1 as well. With NetBackup 8.3, we are making some significant enhancements for Nutanix Acropolis hypervisor users. So if you're considering using the Nutanix built-in hypervisor, the Acropolis hypervisor, now we can allow you to do accelerated backups of those. So that means that you can do an incremental backup of a Acropolis virtual machine and do a full recovery, even though you only backed up change blocks from the hypervisor snapshot. And to make things better for Acropolis hypervisor backups, we have now introduced a new policy type for Acropolis hypervisor backups as well. So you can see a small snapshot of the screen I have in this slide that shows you a view of the policy type that is introduced for supporting hypervisor backups. Openstack. And now I know in this session today, we have a number of customers from our telco industry joining us as well. I know the telco industry uses a fair amount of Openstack. We've introduced support for Openstack in NetBackup 8.2. And in NetBackup 8.3, we are making further enhancements to make the Openstack virtual machine backup and object backup and recovery even better than what it has been with 8.2. So as far as workloads is concerned, I think the major enhancement is for Oracle and SQL. So SQL, we've done a significant change with NetBackup 8.3. Now in NetBackup 8.2, we introduced support for SQL availability group backups. With NetBackup 8.3, we are allowing the SQL DBAs to log in straight onto the NetBackup console and perform self-service backups and recoveries. So there's a small screenshot you can see on the screen here. So in the new web-based interface for NetBackup, there are two operational personas. So there's the persona that is the backup administrator, like you have always been, and there's another role-based access-based user that you can add to the web interface, which will be a workload user. So this capability was introduced into NetBackup with NetBackup version 8.12, the web-based interface. Since 8.12, we had the persona support for the VMware administrator. With NetBackup 8.3, we are adding support for the SQL DBAs as well. So if you're a backup administrator, now you can add the Active Directory credentials for your SQL DBAs and assign them a role of a database protection administrator. And the database administrators can log into the portal, configure their own backups, and even do instant access. So instant access allows them to mount a backed up SQL database copy, and without having to restore the database, mount it over the network and grab the contents of the database. So how good is that? Now, SQL DBAs have a fast recovery mechanism finally with a self-service ability. So there's no longer a need for the SQL DBAs to wait for you to perform the restore activities. They can be allowed to self-service and get their outcomes delivered very quickly, starting with NetBackup 8.3. So a significant advancement to make SQL data protection much better. We've done some enhancements for Oracle workloads as well with NetBackup 8.3. The major enhancement is for Oracle RAC database users. Now, if you are using Oracle RAC, if you're using Oracle RAC right now, you can back up Oracle RAC with NetBackup. So you would have been doing Oracle RAC database backups all this time. And if you were configuring those backups, you know that there are some manual steps you had to do on a command line to create backups for Oracle RAC type databases. With NetBackup 8.3, now we support Oracle RAC database backups through our intelligent policy framework. So what that means is that if you have a NetBackup 8.3 master and a NetBackup 8.3 client running on an Oracle RAC database server, the master can automatically recognize that this is an Oracle RAC database and it's not a normal Oracle single instance database. So it can recognize the aspects of Oracle real application clusters, allow you to also load balance your backups across the nodes that a RAC cluster is usually deployed with. And in this release, we are also adding support for the Oracle Wallet-based security authentication mechanism as well. So makes intelligent policies and the Oracle backup workload experience very seamless, starting with NetBackup 8.3. Oracle databases deduplicate fairly well, but we've done some enhancements to our stream handler to make Oracle database deduplication even better than what it has been all this time. So not just SQL and Oracle and VMware, we've done some enhancements to make life for DB2 database administrators easy, better as well. So if you are backing up a DB2 database, I can tell you that we've had great capabilities, but though we have made those great capabilities even better for DB2 workload users. NAS Data Protection. Now, this is a big enhancement for network attached storage users. Now, for a number of years, when we had support for big filers, right? I mean, we have some customers whose nearly half of the backup footprint is sitting on a NAS appliance, right? So when you have lots of unstructured data these days stored on a network attached storage environment, the default backup method has always been NDMP. Now, for the first time with NetBackup 8.3, we are introducing a NAS backup method that is purpose-built for network attached storage that is not NDMP dependent. So you don't need NDMP to back up network attached storage anymore. So to make things work, we have introduced a new mechanism and a policy type as well. So you can see a screenshot of the policy type below. It's called NAS Data Protection, as the title goes. This backs up the contents of a NAS share through a workflow. So the workflow involves, the job kicks off, it creates a snapshot of the NAS, discovers the files, and backs up the files as files. So because the backup is on a native file format, now the recovery is not dependent on the NDMP limitations we had before. So if you know, an NDMP backup of one NAS appliance must always go back to a NAS appliance from the same vendor, because the NDMP stream format is dependent on the NAS vendor's format. Now with the NAS data protection functionality, you back up the files in the NAS via a consistent snapshot. And therefore, you are able to restore the files you backed up from one NAS vendor's appliance to a different NAS vendor's NAS target. So we make the unstructured data backup for NAS environments now portable, right? So your data format will be portable, so you can take a backup from one vendor's product and restore it to another. And there are also new NAS products out there, like for example, the Nutanix file system, the Acropolis file system, is another popular NAS target that our customers are using. And Nutanix, for example, does not support NDMP. So this method suits really well if you're using the Acropolis file system. Now now you have a new way of dealing with that type of workloads. Universal shares, again, is a function we introduced in NetBackup 8.1. Universal shares allow you to present on the network deduplicated storage from a NetBackup deduplication pool. So if you have a NetBackup media server deduplication pool, you can present a deduplication pool over the network as a network share. So we introduced this capability in NetBackup 8.1. So on the network, you can have a CIFS or an NFS share, and you can use this network share to perform things like database dumps, right? So instead of a DBA performing a database dump to expensive tier 1 storage, they can come in and perform a database dump to a universal share that is presented out of a NetBackup deduplication pool. Now with 8.3 release, a universal share could be created from a build your own deduplication pool as well. And we've created a purpose-built policy type for universal shares as well. So with this policy type, we've introduced a workflow that allows us to come in and sweep the contents that are dumped onto a universal share. We made some improvements to the scalability of the universal share function as well. So now there's a method to finally conquer dump and sweep, if that is the way to go, or via the universal share function. So that was a quick highlight of the expanded workload supports we've done. And so if you need to know more details, keep sending your questions. And I'll do a quick pause. Ranga and Amit, is Q&A panel active and running?
Hi, Phil. There are a good number of questions coming in. We've managed to answer most of them. And the biggest question area or a topic of interest was SQL and NAS restores. So we will probably at the end of the session, when we have time, we'd probably just do a quick debrief on the questions.
Thank you, Amit and Ranga. So to everyone who's joined in the session today, when you have questions, keep putting them on the Q&A panel. Amit and Ranga will respond to them. We'll see at the end of this session if you have any time to address any one of them, but rest assured, we'll be in touch with you to follow up if we don't have enough time to address all questions, but keep them coming. So next, I will talk about some enhancements we introduced to the cloud area of usage for our customers. So again, I go back to NetBackup 8.1 to mention that we introduced NetBackup Cloud Catalyst with release of 8.1. Now, NetBackup introduced backup to the cloud capability in version 7.1 of NetBackup. And in version 7.5 of NetBackup, we introduced support for likes of being able to back up to AWS S3. Now, over the years, we've introduced support for Azure. We've introduced capabilities to back up to AWS Glacier. So you can do all those things directly. NetBackup 8.1 introduced Cloud Catalyst, which allows you to now not only just back up to those public cloud targets, but also deduplicate the data stored in them. So we have customers taking up the Cloud Catalyst function in Australia and even in New Zealand quite a bit. And our customers are getting up to 90 to 95% storage savings from deduplication as they upload backups to the public cloud targets. Now with NetBackup 8.3, we are doing a major enhancement to the backup to the cloud capability by introducing something called MSDP Cloud. Now MSDP Cloud is a new way of backing up to a cloud storage target with deduplication. Now, what we did so far with Cloud Catalyst was you had your MSDP or media server disk pool or deduplication pool operating on your regular media server. And outside of the regular media server, you had a Cloud Catalyst appliance. And the Cloud Catalyst appliance acted as a gateway on the path to the cloud, deduplicating it. With NetBackup 8.3, we bring this function straight onto the media server itself. So you no longer have a need to have a separate Cloud Catalyst gateway. And the existing media server with a deduplication pool can now have a separate logical storage unit configured that will be pointing to the cloud. So the logical storage unit concept or the LSU concept now comes into our media server. So effectively what you can do with NetBackup 8.3 media servers is that you can have a block-based storage target used for deduplication, and you can have more than one cloud-based storage target also configured on the same media server. So effectively, look at it this way: you can have like a 100 terabyte disk-based deduplication pool that will perform backups pretty fast, and then you can have a bucket configured on the same media server that is pointing towards AWS S3, for example, and maybe another bucket if you wanted to that is pointing to an Microsoft Azure environment. So that way, now you can have multiple cloud targets and a block target all configured and stood up on the same media server. And you get the flexibility of not only being able to have multiple buckets on the same deduplication pool, but you can also quickly copy data from one target to another as well. So if you're already using a Cloud Catalyst, no change, you will continue as you are. And sometime in the future, we will announce a transition program where the Cloud Catalyst, if you're using Cloud Catalyst, how you can bring it on board to an existing media server. Not only this, we are also now introducing support for client-side deduplication with cloud-based backup targets as well. So this means that, like in Australia, I'm talking to one of my customers who has an operation in a hub and spoke in a manner where they have lots of remote locations that replicate data. They deduplicate data on the location, replicate the data to the head office, and from the head office, they target the data to the cloud. Now, with this capability, that customer now has the potential to send data from the remote site straight up to a cloud target, and through the image sharing function that you see on the bottom of the screen, have the head office being able to access the data from that same bucket and be able to perform recovery actions. Right. So a significant change with backup to the cloud function with MSDP-C, as we call it, MSDP Cloud in short. Backup in the cloud, we've approached backup in the cloud with something we used to call as Veritas Cloud Point. So you might have discussed your requirements for backup in the cloud, where cloud workloads, if you have Azure Compute or Amazon EC2 or EBS volumes or RDS databases, for example, you can use CloudPoint to make use of the snapshot function, the popular method of backup and recovery for cloud. Use the snapshot function with CloudPoint for using and orchestrating backup and recovery by way of snapshots. In NetBackup 8.3, we are integrating the function of CloudPoint straight into the NetBackup platform. So what that means is that if you were licensed for NetBackup, let's say on the capacity model, you are now entitled to use CloudPoint to orchestrate snapshots of cloud compute and also storage arrays on-prem as well. So the storage arrays on-prem would be, likes of Pure Storage. If you're using Pure Storage on-prem, the CloudPoint snapshot agent can be used to snapshot storage on Pure Storage and perform backups of that. And with the CloudPoint cloud function, if you were deploying, if you're operating in AWS, for example, with NetBackup console integration done with the CloudPoint integration, now you can go discover the compute instances, configure snapshot or the backup schedules, and also configure the retention of those schedules all from the same NetBackup console without having to work with CloudPoint separately. So it's a major enhancement. So with these type of snapshots, we allow you to not only roll back to a snapshot, we allow you to do file and folder recovery of items from those snapshots taken, for example, on EC2 instance as well. And it's not only back to the originating host, you can do an alternate host recovery with this capability as well. So another significant benefit for backup in the cloud. The other major change we are doing with NetBackup 8.3 is also integrating Veritas Resiliency Platform deep into the Veritas NetBackup product as well. So Resiliency Platform, or VRP as we call it in short, is a product that we've had for the past 5 years as well. It's used for orchestrating disaster recovery and failover actions. So when VRP is orchestrating, let's say, a failover of workloads from data center A to data center B, it can orchestrate the failovers, assignment of IP addresses, modify the DNS entries. It does all that, but it requires a storage replication mechanism. So storage replication mechanism could be your storage-based replication technology. It could even be a Veritas InfoScale replication technology, or it could be the VRP's built-in replication technology as well. So the Resilience Platform product has a built-in replicator that also has capabilities for likes of continuous data protection if you're running VMware between two data centers. Now, with this integration, NetBackup is used as a copy a backup copy replication mechanism, and you can bring in your resiliency platform into your NetBackup environment. So you see again a snapshot of the NetBackup Web Interface, and at the bottom you see an option for resiliency, and your configured resiliency environment you would add as one of the widgets you will work through your NetBackup console. Now, once this is done, you can orchestrate mass recovery of data between your production data center to a disaster recovery data center through the VRP workflow. So if you have hundreds of machines to recover, well, you can go to NetBackup console and perform initiate multiple restores. But with resiliency platform driving those restores, now you can coordinate multiple restores to be orchestrated via resiliency platform, and also bring them up and connect them to the network, change their IP addresses, or even modify DNS entries. So a powerful enhancement for disaster recovery through this integration. I also need to mention that if you are licensed for NetBackup under the capacity model, now you get entitlements to use VRP as well. So significant changes for disaster recovery, making it easy and orchestrating cloud workloads with the integration of Veritas CloudPoint into NetBackup. So with that, I'll go into some highlights of what we are doing to make the operational aspects of a large backup environment easy. So the web interface for NetBackup, as I mentioned before, was introduced in NetBackup 8.2. We've done a number of improvements in the 8.3 release by introducing new policy types. So now on the screen, you'll be able to see under protection, two types of protection methods. One is called protection plans, another one is called policies. Now, the policies are the policies that you always work with NetBackup. So if you go to the NetBackup Java interface, you'll see backup policies. Those policies are the policies that are referred to over here. Protection plans is a new way of protecting workloads that we introduced in NetBackup 8.2, again for the self-service aspect of it, right? So we allowed protection plans to be run by a VMware administrator in NetBackup 8.2. And as I mentioned early on, with NetBackup 8.3, protection plans now also get SQL as a workload. So the SQL DBAs can also do self-service recovery through the protection plan method. So protection plans are for workload administrators that you want to add into your NetBackup console for self-service. And the policies are the policies that you always worked with under the Java interface, now making its way into the web interface. So not just administration and running of policies, you can also administer and create and manage cloud and disk-based storage targets using the web interface as well. It's just like the Java interface has a bunch of wizards to make life easy, the web interface also has a getting started wizard. So if you're brand new into the console, the day you log in, the wizard will guide you into simple setup steps to get you going as soon as you want. So for protection plans, we are introducing a backup now function as well. So which means like if you have the VMware administrator or the SQL administrator creating their protection plans and they want to create ad hoc backups, they will be able to do that with the backup now function as well. A host of a number of other capabilities get added in as well. And as I mentioned just briefly before, the VRP functionality or resiliency platform function also appears from the same console. Multi-domain MSDP or multi-domain media server disk pool deduplication pool is another simplification of operations that we are doing for customers who have multiple NetBackup domains. Now, you know that appliances like the Model 5340 can have deduplication pools that are as big as a petabyte. So pretty big deduplication pools that you can build with appliances. So if you have a couple of smaller NetBackup domains, now you can have multiple NetBackup domains share one deduplication pool. So that gives you global deduplication across those NetBackup domains with a single combined deduplication pool. That's what we mean here by the multi-domain MSDP function. So it's another enhancement to allow you to leverage environments and simplify the number of media servers or deduplication pools you might otherwise have to maintain in a NetBackup environment. So I'll reiterate a bit about the Resiliency Platform function again. Now, Resiliency Platform has capabilities that allow you to, if you have two data centers, let's say data center A and data center prod and data center DR, and you are replicating backups through storage, or if you're replicating backup copies using NetBackup's auto image replication, for example. So you have the production environment with the NetBackup domain over there, and you have a DR environment with another NetBackup domain, and you are replicating backup copies using auto image replication. So a number of our customers are doing it. With VRP's integration, now you can rehearse DR recovery. That's what rehearse function in VRP does. So in a rehearse, when you click the button rehearse on VRP, it initiates a recovery of the workload into the DR environment, and you can power on the VM, you can insert a test script, and stop short of connecting the machine to the network and assigning the IP address. So rehearse, stop short of a full go live. But you can do orchestrate a full takeover as well. On the full takeover, it will assign the IP address, modify the DNS entries as well. And it can be also used for migrations. So for example, you have an on-premises backup environment and you're backing virtual machines. And you have a Amazon AWS-based environment that you're auto image replicating the backups to. With the VRP functions, you can back up to an Amazon storage bucket. You can deduplicate the backups using Cloud Catalyst. So you can store the data deduplicated in an Amazon environment, orchestrate a recovery or conversion of the VMware virtual machine into an EC2 instance, and power on the EC2 instance all through VRP. So very powerful capabilities to power up DR, and it's now included for our capacity license customers. I encourage you to have a good hard look at this function and see how it can help. I mean, this day and age, we are all working from home. We don't have access to data centers like we did before. Automation and orchestration is a very important thing. So Veritas thought it was timely that we help customers in this day and age with capabilities of this sort as well. This is a quick snapshot view of the modern NetBackup interface, so the enhanced NetBackup interface. So you can see that you can very quickly go and view your activity monitor, what's good, bad, and ugly in your backup environment. And you also get a view of your usage. So you get a dashboard view of, what are your backup trends? Is your backup overall, is it growing? You can also get a breakdown by policy types as well. So is your Windows backups going along the same way? All of a sudden, is there an increase in NDMP? So now you will very simply see capacity usage methods as well. So this is pretty important for you. If you are also licensed based on a capacity model, it will help you be informed and be able to manage, sudden capacity growth if something is happening in the environment. Because it's a web-based interface, anything that supports a web browser is now good to go to be used as a NetBackup console, so to speak. So it's good that we have all these updates for the master and the media servers, but then you might ask, how do I upgrade the environment? Now you're introducing a new version on NetBackup. So I would ask you to go have a good look at the VX update capability as well. Now VX update is a software distribution mechanism we introduced also in NetBackup 8.1. With VX update, now you can distribute patches or new upgrade code to old and NetBackup clients. Now, very often when customers upgrade NetBackup, they usually upgrade the master and the media servers, but the clients get ignored. Get the clients upgraded, because when the clients are upgraded, you can make use of new functions like the SQL availability group function I mentioned. You can make use of the Oracle rec function I mentioned early on. So the clients also need to be upgraded and they need to be paid attention as well. VX updates allows you to distribute software with a built-in mechanism. You can schedule these software upgrades through the NetBackup console as well. So please have a good look at VX update. This will help you keep the NetBackup environment updated. So a number of enhancements mentioned. I talked about the VRP example of VMware to AWS. Through the VRP latest version that is bundled with NetBackup, it supports Azure Stack to Azure migration as well. So it's similar technology, so we support that as well. So with that, I'll come to the final theme on enhancements we've done for making resiliency and compliance easy. So a number of security updates you can expect from us as well. Now, NetBackup for a number of years have supported a built-in KMS, right? A key management store. So the NetBackup built-in key management store is typically used in the past for storing keys if you're encrypting backups written to tape. We added support with KMS for encrypting of and storing keys for the backups you are writing to public cloud targets like Amazon, Glacier, and Azure as well. With this release of NetBackup, we now support the use of an external key management store plugged into the master server as well. So a number of customers of ours have told us they like the KMS concept, but they want to use an enterprise KMS, the system that they already have in the environment. So now you can incorporate external key management stores into the NetBackup environment, starting NetBackup 8.3. Role-based access control that we've had in the web interface, we've modified the personas in the role-based access controls to be compliant with the ANSI standard as well. So if you followed any ANSI standards in other products for role-based access control, you can expect the same from our web-based interface as well. The certificate-based authentication mechanism for client to server authentication we introduced in NetBackup 8.0. Now we've introduced higher bigness certificates to be used if you wanted. We had some security conscious customers ask for that. SAML based or single sign-on authentication for the NetBackup interface is also possible. So the NetBackup modern interface or the web interface, you don't need to use Active Directory based sign-on alone. If you have a single sign-on system that your corporate uses, you can incorporate single sign-on into the NetBackup console or use certificates and smart card methods as well. So the interface, we recognize modern authentication mechanism. We are also introducing a number of ransomware resiliency features I'll dive into shortly. And a number of other customers have also told us that they want to reduce the Java footprint in the environment. So NetBackup has by default installed Java client onto the clients, NetBackup clients. You don't have to do that anymore, and you can go and remove them. So freedom from Java is a theme under which we are removing the reliance you had on Java with a NetBackup install. You will still have the Java-based interface on the master server, but you don't need it in other places. The audit log in NetBackup can now be exported to a syslog server as well. So you can do audit log management through a syslog environment if you have. Immutability. So this is a major enhancement for immutable retention of backups. Now, NetBackup supports immutable retention with worm tape, write once, read many times tape. We also added support for Glacier Vault lock type vaulted storage devices. With NetBackup 8.3, we are introducing a new concept called immutable disk and cloud storage. So with immutable storage, we now recognize worm compliant storage. Now, we are going to enable this function through our own deduplication pools and third-party OSD devices as well. But mind you, the storage device and the target needs to meet certain minimum requirements. We had to test and be satisfied of its worm capability. So the storage must be tested and certified by us. And we've also introduced a safety net for worm retention. Now, one of the dangers of worm retention is, well, if you say, I want to write this backup and retain this for 2 years, until that 2 years comes past, you will not be able to remove, delete, or modify that backup copy stored in that disk. Now, this can be a bit dangerous if someone assigns the wrong retention level. So we are also introducing for worm compliant storage a min and max setting. So the administrator can go and say, anyone can send backups to this target, but the minimum retention will be 2 months, and the maximum retention allowed will be 12 months. So for example, someone by mistake sends a backup that is meant to be 2 years retention into a target that is only allowed to store 12 months of retention, it will reject that. So, mistaken retention can be avoided by this safety net mechanism as well. So you can expect from us to be introducing our own immutable storage device-based appliance as well. So we will release, Veritas will release in the Flex platform family. So we will release a Flex-based appliance that will have capabilities like intrusion prevention and detection built in. So security software built into the appliance, and it will have measures to store data on a worm basis. Now, I know a lot of products, a lot of vendors out there are saying, they have immutability and they have ransomware protection. No, we don't want to take this lightly. So we will certify our capabilities through the SEC standards in the USA. So we will have some industry backing to add credentials to our immutability protection mechanisms released through our product. So yes, strength to ransomware resiliency with that capability as well. So all right, so I'm coming to the final section. So wanted to also let you know that appliances family has had some number of new changes as well. So you can see here 2 new models. The Flex model 5150 was introduced late last year. And just in June of this year, we introduced a model 5250 NetBackup appliance as well. So the 5250, quick highlights you can see on the screen. It's a much faster backup appliance with more memory, more CPU cores, and our test results show that it's twice as fast as the model it's replacing, the model 5240. I know a number of our customers are using the older models, the 5230 and the 5240. The model 5230 is coming to end of its lifetime. And so I would highly encourage anyone using the Model 5230, especially out there, to plan and consider upgrades and changes and migration from the older model to the newer. And you can expect, higher density of storage. You can expect faster network performance, and of course, you can expect, nearly twice the performance for backups. And the Model 5250 is also still built on the same strengths of, having a hardened operating system, having our InfoScale volume manager and file system built in, the semantic data center security for IPS, IDS, intrusion prevention and detection built in, and our WAN optimizer all included in the appliance format as we always did before. So this data center security function has been very important for our customers. We've had some of our own customers get hit by ransomware. And so far, I'm happy to say that whatever was hit in the environment, our appliances survived through unscathed. So a pretty safe target to use for backup retention. So I mentioned that we are going to have a number of future enhancements coming in. So you can expect from us another webcast of this format to come in about 3 months' time. So with that, in summary, remember, we'll have you covered from edge to the core, to the cloud, any type of workloads with appliances or, build your own software, cloud native functions all built in through a single platform. So with that, I want to open up for Q&A. I know we are time short. If there are any questions I can take up, Amit? And Trudy, I'll hand over to you at this point as well.
Phil, I think there are a few questions that we are still to answer. Given the shortage of time, I'll hand it back to Trudy, and we'll respond to these questions offline and reach out to individuals.
Yes. Now we are going to have a way for you to keep in touch with us. But remember, NetBackup in short, has you covered in all kinds of areas with workloads and cloud and, from on-prem to anywhere. And last but not least, remember to visit Veritas.com. The NetBackup 8.3 was just released last week, so you can find a number of material. And I'll hand it over to Trudy to get us through the closure.
Yes, thanks, Philip, and thank you, everyone. So as Philip just pointed out, please do visit Veritas.com. We've got a lot of updated materials up there, including more video demonstrations. They cover all of the areas we talked today about ransomware and cloud and all the additional workload support. Philip, could you go to the next slide? And in addition, look, we really encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn. We had our global launch event on LinkedIn last week, and it's available on demand now. And what's so good about it is there are actually 3 demonstrations up there as well. So you can see more about the integration between NetBackup and CloudPoint. And there are 2 other demonstrations focused on NetBackup and the Resiliency Platform and how to deploy resilience in the cloud. So recommend you go to LinkedIn and do check out that global event. Plus, we've got an online community. It's called Vox, or Veritas Open Exchange. You can reach the community through our website or go directly to vox.veritas.com. And there are quite a few blogs and conversations up there right now about NetBackup 8.3, so you can go there as well. And of course, we're happy to help you locally. So if you want to contact the Veritas ANZ team, please see our email address on the screen, anz.team@veritas.com. And if you're in Australia, we have a 1-800 number and an 0800 number if you're in New Zealand as well. So do give us a ring. So lastly, just a reminder, we're going to send out this recording to everyone. And if you've opted in for the Uber Eats voucher, you'll receive an email from us within the next 24 hours with details of that voucher. And lastly, look, just thank you to our panelists today, Phil, Ranga, and Amit, and of course to all of you, thank you for joining and staying with us for the last 60 minutes. Hope you have a great day ahead, and bye for now.
Thank you, everyone.